Any questions out there, ladies and gentlemen, by all means, this is a time in which don't feel shy about the type of question you have, because we realize that this is like looking at a whole nother ballgame. It's fun to watch a race, it's enjoyable to come out to the track, but looking in the paddock and seeing the physical side of a horse is kind of a tough assignment. And if there's anything that you'd like to learn, now is the time. Just kind of raise your hand, and I'll be happy to bring the mic over to you. We'll start with you, sir.
Why do they wrap the horse's legs?
Excellent question. Why do they wrap the horse's legs?
The main reason that most of the time they wrap the horse's legs, and I put them on the back on every horse I run, and we put little patches down here because when the horse lands on the ground, when the horse hits the ground, his legs flex down and the back part of their ankles will pound on the dirt. And sometimes that will sting them a little bit, and it'll cost them a little bit. It might cost them at any part of the race a little bit of ground. So, and sometimes they get little burn marks there. So a lot of times I put them on all four, but on the back legs you'll see them. There's no concern in that as a disadvantage or anything. We just try to do it as a preventative thing. And in the front legs, it's the same thing. They'll burn right behind their ankles because this part right here will actually touch the dirt when they hit the ground. But sometimes these tendons will swell a little, and people will put bandages on them for a little bit of support. It's just like putting an ace bandage on your wrist when it's sore, or you had a little swelling in your arm or anything like that. But most cases it's because to keep the patches on underneath for the protection of the horse hitting the dirt.
The claiming game, John, is kind of like a chess game as well. Are there times in which the front wraps are there just to kind of leave some questions unanswered for prospective claimers?
Absolutely. If somebody's going to claim a horse for $20,000 and they have a claim made out and that horse shows up with first-time bandages on the front, they might get a little bit scared and take a second look at them. And sometimes you're bluffing and sometimes you're not.
When you're watching a horse walk walking at the gate, can you learn anything about its stride that will translate into its running in terms of overgait? Is that good or bad, or?
I don't really pay that much attention to that. More or less, I just look to see if there's a problem with the horse will usually travel rough. And the people that are looking at these horses every day, we can see that, just by looking at them. The way they walk, no, because these horses get a little bit nervous when they get out on the track and they make little funky moves and stuff, and sometimes you'll drive yourself crazy watching them. It really doesn't mean anything. The main thing you need to watch when they're out there is the ones that get really hot, or the alert ones that it looks like they're all puffed up and ready to go. That means they're doing good.
What about horses getting to the starting gate? Is there an issue or a concern with a horse that's kind of balking at the gate? Are they telling you something, or is it just a matter of needing schooling in that situation?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because if it's a horse that's had few starts or a first-time starter, then he's probably just learning how to go in the gate and he's nervous and it's all new. An older campaigner that's not wanting to go in the gate, I would be really suspicious of that. From a veterinary standpoint, we have found that linked to more injuries in horses, and they seem to know that something is going to go wrong and they don't want to start. So now a track veterinarian takes a little closer look at an animal that's hesitant to go in the gate, again when he's a horse that has been going in routinely. And trainers as well probably will look at the horse a little more closely if they, something that's gone in every single start, never had a problem, and then all of a sudden is just being like, I don't think I really want to start.
Okay.
Advantage, disadvantage of blinkers.
Blinkers, this is a good question, and it's something that I'd like to address on a couple of different fronts. A, blinkers when it's a change from non-blinkers, and then B, what about blinkers with first-time starters? So why don't we just talk about blinkers in general. Typically speaking, blinkers are generally perceived as a piece of equipment that is trying to sharpen up a horse's speed, John, but there are probably other reasons for having blinkers as well.
I was brought up in the quarter horses. If you watched at Los Alamitos at night, every horse runs in blinkers. They do it so the horse focuses on the front part of the race and they don't see any distractions from the side. It's a game of inches. You don't want that horse to duck in or duck out and lose any ground and get beat. But and as far as the young horses, like Frank mentioned, when I'm getting a first-time starter ready, I use blinkers and then I don't use them, and I use them and I don't use them. That way, when I run the horse has already had them on, and if I decide to put them on, he's already had a little bit of schooling in the morning. I like to run a first-time starter with blinkers, but in the long run, now that I've trained thoroughbreds a lot longer, I'm starting to shy away from blinkers, because when you watch the Breeders' Cup and a lot of these old or international races overseas, I'm noticing that a lot of these big trainers that train really good horses, none of them are using blinkers, none of them. And so I think it makes the horse relax a lot more if you don't use them. And especially, I love the route racing. And if I claim a horse that runs in blinkers, a lot of times I take them off.